Hi guys, it's Kirsty here. So welcome to, I think we're on day 5 already of my 7-day free program on dissolving anxiety, health anxiety and stress in the COVID-19 times. So I hope you're all doing well because this evening we are going to dive straight into dealing with a very large topic. I've had a huge amount of demand for this because currently it seems like a lot of people are suffering with this, which is the famous sleep deprivation. Right, we've got a few people who jumped on, but I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't see. Who have we got? Giovanna, hello. Heidi, hello. Lorraine, hello. Michael, Laura, hello guys, welcome. So this evening's title is How to Overcome Sleeplessness, the Dreaded Sleep Deprivation. This is a massive topic and I'm getting lots of messages of people saying that currently their sleep is terrible. And I'm not surprised because there's so much worry, there's so much stress going on the planet right now, and there's lots of reasons for people to be awake. So if you are somebody who has not had a decent night's sleep, or you know somebody who has not had a decent night's sleep for the last few weeks, maybe you're somebody who's never slept very well, or potentially you are somebody who falls asleep but you wake up a number of times, like broken sleep, like when you have a small baby, or maybe you're just somebody who recognises that you don't ever get to that deep level of rest, then you need to stay on to this talk this evening because not only are we going to address what's going on and the reasons why we don't sleep, but I'm going to give you some direct antidote tools that you can implement from this evening that are going to help you change your relationship to sleep deprivation. Now, the reason why this topic is, I think, so popular is because when we don't sleep, it literally makes us feel like a madman or a madwoman. And there's a reason for that. We need to sleep because we need to heal. When we're sleeping, what happens is our nervous system goes into automatic drive and it starts to heal. And what it does is it releases all the stresses out of our nervous system so that when we wake up the next day, it's like we've reset the button and we're ready to be able to deal with tomorrow's ventures or whatever's being presented to us. When we don't sleep properly and we don't get that deep level of rest, it's like we're on catch up. It's like almost like we're living in a bit of a fog. And who can concentrate when we're like that? It's like literally impossible. And so sleep deprivation is such a massive problem because not only does it affect our next day, that once we get into this bad habit, it then creates prolonged outcomes such as we feel like we've got brain fog, we feel like we're not part of the world, we make bad choices, we feel grumpy, we want to eat any carbohydrate we can get our hands on, give me any sugar, give me any salt. We want to crave and fulfill those craves as soon as possible because literally what's happened is we've not had a chance to heal. So sleep deprivation is a massive, massive issue. So if you're one of those people, then stay online. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through 3 parts. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight to it. I'm also going to give you what impact it's potentially having on your life. And then finally, give you a 3-step process so that you can start implementing them from tonight. So guys, if you're online and you're ready for this and you're hungry for it and you feel like you're ready to make a change to your sleep, then give me a big thumbs up. Okay, so let's jump in. What happens to us then when we can't sleep? Well, quite often you'll wake up and the first thing you'll do is go, oh my goodness, I need to fall asleep. I need to go back to sleep because I've got work tomorrow. I've got the kids to sort out. Or currently, I've now got to juggle homeschooling my children and trying to run a business from my home while my husband and partner is also here. The dog, the cat, the flipping bunny rabbit. We've got a million things going on. And so sleep has never been more important. But also, when we don't sleep properly, what happens is that it affects how we feel, but it also starts to affect our stress levels. And what happens then, as we've been speaking about earlier on in the week, is when we are experiencing high levels of stress, the body releases that famous hormone chemical called cortisol. And the first thing that cortisol does is it switches off our immune system. And right now, how important is it that our immune system is firing on all cylinders? It's like never been more important. So it is so important that we sort your sleep out if you're not sleeping currently. So what happens is we might fall asleep, okay? You might be one of those people that falls into the category that you can go to bed, you can fall asleep, but then within an hour, bang, you're wide awake. What tends to then happen is we kind of roll over and we'll go, oh my goodness, I need to fall back to sleep, and we'll have this running commentary. One of two things may happen to you. You might be that sort of person where you feel like your brain is now really awake, and it's like you've got a barrage of commentary and thoughts that are attacking you almost in the comfort of your own bed. And the more kind of like alive these thoughts get, the more kind of frustrated you begin to feel, because it's almost like you're now fighting with your own inner self. Very, very common. Or you might be the second type of person who wakes up from a sleep, feels frustrated, and maybe you might get up because you need to go to the loo or something like that. You come back to bed, and yet as much as you try to fall to sleep, what happens is not only do you get frustrated, but you also start to recognise that you're now starting to feel anxious. And what I mean by that is your heart rate now starting to increase, your pupils are dilating, and you're feeling clammy, and you're feeling actually quite ill. So these are both very common experiences when we don't sleep properly. Now, with my clients, what I tend to hear over and over again when they're not sleeping is I'll say, so what did you do? And they'll say, well, I turned over in my bed about 400 times, and then eventually it was about 6 a.m. and I fell asleep and my alarm went off about 20 minutes later. Right, this is not what we're going to do from now on, but I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So what happens to us in sleep? We basically wake up because our brain has got into a negative pattern. And what I mean by that is a human being is made up of two parts. So there's two parts of you that have to come into alignment in order for you to fall asleep. The first part is who you are, so your personality. So it's your conscious mind. It's the part of you that has been interacting with the world all day long. The second part of you is the other part that makes up a large part of you, which is your subconscious mind, and it's also the part that connects you to the larger part that makes everything happen. For example, the reason why the blood is pumping around your body without you having to think about it, the reason why your digestive system works, the reason why those cells of your body are being replaced moment by moment, is because there's a part of you that you don't consciously put your attention on all day long, but is very much alive and is very much keeping you alive. So these two parts of you have to come into alignment for you to sleep. But quite often what happens is people are trying to sleep and they're like that. So the frustration is that we then start to have an inner argument with ourselves that sounds something like, I need to go to sleep because I've got X, Y, and Z to do tomorrow. This is kind of like the worst thing we can do, but this is what we generally do. So we're in this state, we're having a full-on argument with ourselves, we're getting frustrated, we need to sleep, and then what happens? The body starts to react. It starts to react to where your focus is going. Now, if you haven't watched any of my other videos this week and you want to know more about this, then go back to yesterday's where I spoke in great depth about how the cells of your body react to everything that you put your attention on. But in a nutshell, when you're asleep or you're trying to get to sleep, you start putting your attention on the thoughts that are being presented in your head. Maybe it's a thought of health. Maybe it's a thought of, how am I going to deal with juggling kids and homeschooling and work and finances? Maybe it's a thought of, I really need to get to sleep because I've got to get up early. No matter what it is that you're putting your attention on, the cells of your body are listening. And if it thinks that you are now putting your attention on something which is threatening to your experience, it will immediately release cortisol and adrenaline. Now, one of the qualities of cortisol and adrenaline is that these hormones, what they do is they release energy, right? And they release energy because if you were under threat and you did need to run for your life, you would need that energy to be able to get out of the place that you're in. So you're in bed, you're trying to fall asleep, and now you've just released a massive shot of energy into every cell of your body, and your body's like that, bing! Your pupils dilate, your heart starts to race, and your body thinks that you are in a place and a time where you need to either run, or you need to get out of somewhere, or you need to do something really physically active. Meanwhile, what you're trying to do is fall asleep. So no wonder, right, you're having a complete fallout and nightmare with yourself, because your body is in a completely different state to where your mind is. So in order to change that, we need to take some fundamental steps. Now, I'm not going to go through the obvious things, because you probably already know these things, like don't drink caffeine before you go to bed, make sure that you're not on a screen an hour before you go to bed, make sure that you haven't eaten like a 7-course meal half an hour before going to bed. I'm not going to go into those things, because I'm sure you've already been there, tried that, done that, right? What I want to get to is the nitty-gritty and the solution here of what's really going to make a difference. So, if you are somebody who suffers with sleep deprivation, you must grab paper and pen right now, because you're going to need to write this down. And if you haven't got paper and pen, don't worry, this will be on replay, you can go back and go back to it and write it down. Okay, the antidote to sleep deprivation. Are we ready? Step 1. Okay, so you're in bed. You've either fallen asleep and then woken up and can't get back to sleep, or you've gone to bed and you're trying to get to sleep and you just can't fall asleep. Either or, this both works for both scenarios. So what you have been doing is potentially tossing and turning, getting frustrated, and then maybe at some point eventually falling asleep, but waking up again and feeling rubbish. This is what you're going to do from this moment onwards. This evening, if you go to bed and you can't fall asleep, or you fall asleep and you wake up and can't now get back to sleep, the first thing you're going to do after 10 minutes, if you still haven't gone back to sleep, is you are going to get up. Now, bear with me. Bear with me, I promise. There is a method to my madness. And you're going to get up and you're going to go out of your bedroom to a different room. So maybe your front room, or if you've got like a quiet study room or somewhere, it doesn't really matter, but just go to sleep. Right, you're then going to grab paper and pen. And what I suggest you do tonight is that you just have some paper and pen that you either take to bed, or a book somewhere that you don't have to go searching for in the middle of the night. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to do what's called a brain dump. Now, what this is we're going to take out of what's going on in your head and chuck it onto paper. So it might literally be something like, right, what is my brain focusing on at the moment? What's it worried about? What is it obsessing about? What is it trying to like continuously assess and analyse? And you're not going to overthink this, you're just going to literally write the thing out and just keep writing until there's nothing left to write. And so what I would say to clients is like, it doesn't really matter even if it's about toilet roll, which it might be right now. Just keep writing the things down that are going through your head that are causing you some distress. It may be that the things that are going through your head aren't even stressing you out, and that's fine, still write them down. And what I tend to do is I just like scribble it out, keep scribbling it out until there's nothing left to scribble. Sometimes when I do this exercise, it doesn't even make sense. That's okay. And trust me, it doesn't matter if it's not spelled correct, or even if it's not eligible, if it's not, you can't read it, don't worry, because the whole process with this exercise is the intention. It's the intention of taking it out of your mind and dumping it onto paper. And you just literally keep writing until there's nothing left to write, okay? Now, the next part, really important. After you have done that, if you feel like you're sleepy, then you can go back to bed, right? If you don't, then don't bother. Do something else. Like, for example, watch something on YouTube, something funny, or read a book, or whatever it might be, but do something different until you start to feel sleepy. What I don't want you to do tonight is try and fight what you've been doing, because this whole process is about one massive thing, which is taking you out of resistance. So up until this evening, most people that fight with their sleep are fighting with it because they're resisting what's actually going on. And like I said earlier on, until we get to the two aspects that make you up into alignment, you will never fall back to sleep. So we need to take you out of resistance and get you into a state of allowing. And the only way to do that is by doing something different. And I've said this week so many times about what Einstein said. Sorry, I've got to do this. What Einstein said. Einstein said the definition of madness is repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. And this is a perfect example of that. If you're somebody who doesn't sleep well, then the only way to get a different result is that if we do something different. So that's what you're going to do tonight. You're going to do something different. So step one is after 10 minutes, if you're not sleeping, you get out of bed, you go to a different room and you brain dump whatever's going on in your head. Step two is if you're still feeling quite awake and alert, then there's no point going back to bed yet. Do something different, do a different activity until you start to feel sleepy, and then take yourself back to bed. The bedroom needs to be associated with sleep, not with anything else right now if you are somebody who suffers with sleep deprivation. Okay, so that's step one. You get up, you take yourself somewhere else, and then once you start to feel sleepy, then you go back. Now, step two. If you are somebody who has been suffering with sleep deprivation for a long time, then the chances are that the programming in your subconscious mind is a bit skew-whiff and it needs rewriting. So that's not as severe as it sounds, I promise. But this next exercise is quite a challenge. But if you are somebody who isn't sleeping, then this exercise is going to take a couple of days for it to pay off, but the payoff will be huge. And I can tell you now that once you start sleeping again, you're going to be really thankful for it, because there's nothing better than feeling like you've had a deep level rest of sleep. So if you are somebody who has suffered for a long time, then the second exercise is this: paper and pen. You need to put yourself on a 36-hour ban of sleep. So what I mean by that is you need to stay up for 36 hours. So if you've had a rubbish night's sleep last, like tonight, for example, let's say you were like up and down, you wouldn't sleep then until the next night. And what you would then do is you'd set your time that you want to start going to bed in a regular, consistent evening time going forward. So let's say that's 10:30. You would go to bed at 10:30 that next night. Now you're going to be shattered because you're going to have been up for a long time. But what you're doing is you're resetting your body clock. When you go to bed at 10:30, you must set your alarm for 8 hours later. Regardless of whether you want to get up 8 hours later or not, you must get up. Because what you're doing is you're creating a new brainwave pattern, basically. In order for your brain to know what it needs to do, you need to take charge. And that's what you're doing with this exercise. So you would go to bed at 10:30, you'd set your alarm for 8 hours later. Even if you're still shattered, you must get up. And then the next evening you do the same. And the next evening you do the same. And then what will happen very quickly is your mind and body will come back into alignment and a new program will have been set. But it does take a few days for this to happen. But if you are somebody who's really suffered with sleep for a long time, honestly, the results to this are massive. And I have clients who will say things to me like, I feel like I'm actually living my life for the first time in years. That's how much sleep deprivation affects people. And if you're somebody who hasn't slept well for a long time, then you probably can't even remember what it's like to have actually had a good night's sleep. So exercise one is do the brain dump. Exercise two is for those people that have been really suffering with sleep deprivation for a long time, and that's to reset your body clock. 36 hours, and then you must, the most important part of this, get into a beautiful pattern that you stick to, okay, regardless. So step three is the other things that you can do to support sleep deprivation are very, very simple, and maybe a bit obvious, but actually quite often surprisingly overlooked. Often when I'm speaking to clients, I find that they are sleeping in an environment where they're either too hot or too cold, one of the first things I get them to do is go and rearrange their rooms, their bedrooms, make them into a boudoir of comfiness and somewhere where you are looking forward to going to sleep. So what I mean by that is maybe you might have to rearrange the room, but if you're in a room that hasn't got a lot of air, or you're in a room where you feel too cold or too hot in the middle of the night, then you must address those very simple things, because you'll be amazed what effects they have on your sleep. Also, if you are not hydrating yourself and drinking a lot of water, tut tut, which is, by the way, at least a minimum of 8 glasses a day, one of the first things that dehydration does is it affects your sleep. Most people don't know that. And in my experience, most people are dehydrated. Most people that start working with me are, and if you're a client of mine watching this now, you'll know that was you once upon a time, come to me and they maybe drink 1 glass of water a day. And actually that means that they've been dehydrated for years. So if that's you, you need to start hydrating yourself, because water, you are made up of like 80-90% water. You need to keep yourself hydrated. If you keep yourself hydrated, your body will let you get into alignment and it will allow you to sleep better. So drink lots of water. That can be fruity teas too, but make sure you hydrate yourself. The other thing that I really want to highlight is diet. Now, you know about caffeine, that's an obvious one, but a big problem is when people eat too many high carb last meals, so heavy carbohydrate dinners, and too much sugar. Sugar is a real monkey. It really messes up with people's, it really confuses the body, and it makes the body obviously feel more awake, and it doesn't help you sleep whatsoever. So if you're trying to reset your pattern right now, I suggest you really watch out with your sugar intake and also your carbohydrate intake the last meal of the day. Some of the stuff you can do, which is really, really good, is increase things like avocados and nuts and healthy oils and things like that, which will help you sleep. So it's just about being more conscious, really, just while you're getting yourself back into a sleep pattern. I'm not saying that you have to live like this forever, but it is really important, if you're not sleeping, that you just make conscious choices right now to be able to prioritise things so that it supports this change, because you're going to be so thankful once you have had some good sleep. And then the final thing is, and it's something that I hugely support in everything, not just sleep, but everything, that is remembering about how powerful your mind is. Now, I've spoken at great lengths about the mind this last week in every topic, because it's my passion and it's the thing that I will probably be studying forever. And one of the things that is being shown over and over and over again in loads of like reports and of sleep and feeling good about yourself and happiness and all that jazz is remembering where attention goes, energy flows. So if you are going to go to bed and start then identifying with all your worries of the day, then you are going to then reduce the idea that you're going to get a good night's sleep, because stress is going to be the predominant experience. But if you go to bed and put your focus on all the things you're grateful for, then what will happen is your body will react to that. And as I've said to you before this week, gratitude is one of the fastest ways to send the cells of your body into an expansive state. And when you're in an expansive state, what happens is automatically you release hormones that make you feel good and relaxed, like serotonin, you know. And so what then happens is the body starts to calm. And what happens then is you're able to fall asleep. This stuff is not rocket science. It's not difficult, but it might be different to what you've been used to doing. And that's okay. And I always like to give an example of like a small baby. I've got 3 sons, and most of you know that. And when they were little, they were all quite close in age. I've only got like 13 months between the first 2 and 2 years between the second and third. So it was like a bit of a military operation when my kids were small. So a bedtime routine was so important, not just for them, but for my own sanity. And so it would look like, and I'm sure yours, if you've got children, might have been quite similar, but it would be like, right, it's getting to mid-afternoon, we're starting on the wind down now. So it would be like, right, it's bath time. After we've had a bath, it's then like, read a book, bottle time, getting wrapped up in bed. And there was this like little tradition every single night, but the result was that they would go to sleep at a certain time pretty much once it was all in some sort of order at the same time every night, and they would sleep like clockwork to a certain time in the morning. And all that I was actually doing back then was I was creating a brainwave pattern within their behaviour so that that happened by having the wind down period. Well, guess what, guys? Adults are no different, right? So if you need a wind down little program, then create one. Yours might be slightly different. It might not be a book before bed. Maybe it will be. But why not? Why not like have a bath with some Epsom salts in, maybe a cup of sleepy tea or a herbal, nice relaxing chamomile tea with like maybe like go to bed and do some meditation, and then finally maybe read a little bit of a book before going to sleep. Why not? Why not? And just see what happens in your evening. And then the final part of this is, which I've just mentioned, is the power of meditation. On day 7, which is Sunday, I'm actually going to talk in a bit more detail about the power of meditation. But one of the things I want to just quickly, briefly share about it is what meditation does is it has the same qualities as sleep. So sleep heals the nervous system, and so does meditation. So it's done slightly differently because sleep, you're unconscious, but when you meditate, you consciously do it. So it's consciously healing the nervous system. But that's why, like yogis and when I was doing my meditation mastery and I was on my training, I didn't really have that much sleep because I was doing such long hours of meditation. I didn't need it because my nervous system was being healed through the meditation. And so meditation is like an incredible tool for anyone who's suffering with sleep deprivation. And I will speak in great depth about this on Sunday evening. I've got many clients now that have learned to ascend. Ascension is a type of meditation that I practice and also teach. And all of them, and I'm not just saying this, all of them have had such a huge shift since learning to meditate, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole shebang. But a couple of them who came to the meditation course, well, more than a couple, have come and they've had really poor sleep for years and years and years and years. And literally within a weekend of learning this program, they've never looked back. Their sleep patterns are in fact, some of them are like, I can't stop sleeping now. Jessica, if you're still online, I think that's you I'm speaking about. So meditation is a fantastic tool for getting the same results as what sleep does. And so you can use like meditation if you don't have if you are someone who suffers with poor sleep, to be able to help you do the thing that sleep does, which is heal the nervous system. So guys, in a nutshell, sleep deprivation. If you are somebody who doesn't sleep and hasn't slept for a long time, then make it a priority that you implement some of these tools more than ever, because what sleep does is it helps you reduce cortisol. When you get a good night's sleep, you are less likely to be stressed the next day. If you're less likely to be stressed the next day, then that means less cortisol, which means that if you're not getting cortisol into the system, that you are not going to be decreasing your immune system, which, remember, in this time right now, the number one priority for all of you out there is that you make sure that your immune system has its best chance of rocking and flying on all cylinders, because your body is incredible and it knows how to keep you protected, but you have to play your role. You have to play your role. You have to take these actions if you aren't sleeping well and implement them from this evening. If you have any questions on this or you want any more support on this, then do shout out, either DM me or message on the back of this, whatever. But share this video with as many people as you can, please, because it's so important that people realise that they do have the power to make the changes to the way that they feel by implementing some of these tools. These tools are not difficult. They may be different, but they're not difficult. You've just got to consistently put them into play. And I promise you, you'll be messaging me in a week's time going, oh my God, I feel like a brand new person. Because sleep makes us feel great. It makes us feel alive. It makes us feel expansive. It makes us feel completely and utterly empowered. So if you're not sleeping, then please have a go at this and let me know how you get on. All right, guys, it's been amazing as usual. And tomorrow evening, I am going to be talking to you about something. What am I talking to you about tomorrow? Let me remind myself. Tomorrow evening, I'm going to be jumping into how to deal with depression, and also I'm going to talk a little bit about chronic pain and illnesses and disease, and how you can keep yourself protected from that in the COVID-19 times. So if that's something that you want to hear more about, then jump on tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Don't forget, go to my website for the free masterclass on overcoming anxiety and stress, which is kirstybortoff.co.uk. I've also got I've got loads of things going on, but one of the things that you might be interested in is following me or subscribing to my YouTube channel, which is The Mindset Coach, and I'll put all the links below this afterwards. I release new videos on there every week, so there's going to be lots of things coming out very shortly. But other than that, guys, don't forget to have a go at this, and have an amazing evening. Lots of love. Mwah. Speak to you again soon. See you later.